What results can you achieve by growing thicker hands in just 100 days? I realized that I didn't make a video about my 100 days transformation, even though this was the period where I saw the fastest gains in terms of hand, wrist and forearm girth. So today I will break that process down for you. When I started that routine of pronation and rising every day, my hands were paper thin. I barely had any muscle or vascularity in them, and after my first ever hand workout on day 1, they had gotten massive. I couldn't believe my eyes and decided to make it a series, thinking I had found the ultimate technique to grow thick hands fast. But it turns out they were just swollen because they weren't used to that new training method. On day 2, I saw that all my girth from day 1 disappeared, but I was stuck with a commitment as I had already uploaded the first video on TikTok. So I thought I might as well still give it a shot. I kept going day after day and new details were appearing. First, I gained an insane amount of vascularity in everyday life, especially in the forearms and biceps. But I was also putting on a bit of size in specific areas like the brachioradialis and the thumb. I kept going and was doing it pretty much every day, except when it got painful in my joints, but we'll get back to that later. The only time I took a huge pause was at day 11 when I flew to another country to see a girl. We did cardio for 5 days straight, to the point I lost 4 kilos during my stay. I was still trying to get little pronation and rising sets in to not lose too much gains, and she liked my forearm so much that she even took a picture. Back at my house on day 12, I was completely depleted due to that rapid weight loss, but it didn't look like it affected the hands at all. I was 71 kilos before the trip, and on those clips I am 67 kilos. I always used 10 kilos and did 5 sets of 60 reps for the 2 exercises, but sometimes I did heavy days which completely destroyed my wrist. If you're having pain in your joints while doing this, it might be one of the reasons why. You are either going too heavy or not controlling the movement enough and throwing the weight around. It also happened to me at the start because my wrists were fragile, but now I don't have pain anymore. So as I kept going, I learned that there was going to be an arm wrestling tournament soon, and I wanted to see if my training had already paid off. I put this objective of competing in the 70 kilos weight class, so I had to gain those few kilos back to maximize my chances to win. I was feeling confident as my forearms were starting to look serious, and my pronator was also getting big. I kept training as normal, but decreased the training weight to 6 kilos to not put too much stress on my tendons. I did that for a week straight to be fresh for the competition, and I didn't really make the weight in time as I still was around 69 kilos, but that was good enough. So let's see how well I did at the tournament. I competed against Pipo, which is the guy that taught me pretty much everything I knew about arm wrestling at the time. So that was a pretty unfortunate matchup. But also my training didn't actually do much in terms of strength at the time. And most importantly, I had a very poor technique and hand placement, especially in the setup, which put me in a losing position from the start. But that wasn't gonna stop me to improve, so the same day I went back to training and also decided to finally start bulking. And I can say that this was a good decision. All my life I wanted to be massive and large, but I was always stuck at a low body weight due to my poor appetite. I was lean but small, and finally taking that step of committing to a bulk completely changed my frame. I was putting on size fast, and at that time I hadn't been to a gym in nearly 4 months due to a back injury, so I could only train arms. My forearms and hands started getting significantly thicker. At first, I developed what I called lizard skin on my thumb, which looked pretty cool, but as I kept going, around day 50, it started turning into a callus. That area of my hand was getting super hard due to the friction the belt was causing on it every day. And I kept it to see how much bigger it could get. At some point, it started to crack open and bleed, which was a bit painful and wasn't a good look if you wanted to shake someone's hand. So I got rid of it by applying cream on it. Back on the hand gains, my thumbs were starting to get huge. They were getting very vascular and a shred was even developing on them. I was doing a few other exercises for hands here and there besides the pronation and rising, like this rubber egg and the race bucket training. But pronation and rising definitely gave me the most gains. In fact, I think that during those 100 days they were the only ones contributing to my hand and wrist growth, because of how much I was doing them without skipping a day. But in terms of forearm size, I think that other factors played into it as I started getting back to the gym. They of course got some proper work in, and I also wanted to grow them after my loss in the arm wrestling tournament. So I decided to do more forearm exercises like wrist flexions and reverse curls, which made them much thicker in the span of those 100 days. I went from having 33 centimeters forearms, as I said at the start, to 35.5 centimeters. I only gained 4 kilos between those pictures without counting the weight loss I mentioned earlier, so I went from 71 to 75 kilos. And I would say that this was mostly lean mass, as I was still lean and vascular at the day 100. Now, what about my wrists? For those who don't know, this is a watch I had since I was a kid, and I was floating in it back then. And if you saw my 300 days video comparison, you know that I am not able to wear it anymore, because my hands got too thick for it to even reach the wrist. And even the wrist itself is too big now, but during the first 100 days I could still put it on, even though I remember it feeling a bit tighter on my wrist, but that's all. I was still able to wear it without too many restrictions. I had 16 centimeters wrist at the start and grew them to 18 centimeters at day 200, then to 19 centimeters on day 300. And unfortunately, I didn't take measurements for the day 100, but I think it would be fair to assume that they got to 17 centimeters considering the other measurements. Now, to prove that this is not some genetic anomaly, steroids, or whatever people said in my previous video, here is one of my students, Patrick. His wrist went from 17.5 centimeters on day 1 to almost 20 centimeters on day 220. He also grew some 35 centimeters forearms during that period, while also developing massive thumbs. He got those absolutely insane results following the routine. And he's not the only one, as this gentleman on Instagram also decided to go on a journey to grow figure hands using some of my techniques and saw incredible results in just 70 days. His wrist went from 15.8 to 17 centimeters, and he also grew some huge shredded thumbs, along with his palms gaining a whole inch in thickness. A ton of other guys also had insane physical transformation in my community, whether forearm and hand gains, fat loss, or getting jacked. If you also want to get my personal help to transform your body, join my community in the description and lock your place at half the price forever, as it will double next month. Now, to end this video, let's do some side-by-side comparisons of those hand gains. Here you can see on day 2 how flat my hands were. I had no thumb muscle and overall my hands were pretty thin, whereas the day 100 is just a massive bulging thumb and pinky pad muscle, plus the vascularity. Here from the same angle you can see how wide they got when I clench my fist. Here is a very apparent change in overall thickness. The video on the left was taken around day 15 and the other on day 75. And to finish, a forearm comparison. It is not exactly the same place, but I think it still shows pretty well the evolution.